This demonstration is going to be on the access preparation for maxillary molars. To understand the access preparation form of the maxillary molar, we need to understand the anatomy first. Your outline form or the access preparation form always is on the mesial side of the tooth. So if we look at this second molar, which I am using as the model, we have here the buccal side, the palatal or the lingual side, the mesial side, and the distal side. The common access form for maxillary molars is triangular if there are only 3 canals or 3 roots. But once you have 4 canals or 4 roots, then you'll have rhomboidal. So it's always triangular in shape, where the base will be on the buccal side and the apex will be on the palatal side. So initial access forms avoids touching the distal aspect. The point of entry is always on the center of the mesial groove. So here you have your triangular fossa, you have the central groove, and you have here your buccal groove. So if you look very closely, your burr is always directed on the middle of that central groove. And if we are using this explorer as the orientation of the burr, it's always directed facing towards the palatal. It's never directed going to the mesial, or it's never directed pointing distal. Burr is always slightly angulated, directed towards the palatal. Why the palatal? Because that is where you have the bigger or the biggest part of the chamber, and where you also have the biggest root or the biggest canal, which is the palatal. So why should it be directed there? Why is it very important to understand the orientation of your burr? Because if you look at the anatomy, okay, of the mesial side, wrong direction of your burr, if you direct it mesially, you will easily perforate the mesial side. Okay, so notice if this is the burr, it's directed almost parallel going towards your palatal side. Okay, never in that direction or to the distal. Okay, so now we will start opening up for initial entry. The burrs you use for the molars would be the number 4 or the number 6, but you're always safe using the number 4 when you open on posterior teeth. You only use the number 6 if you see in your radiographs you have big chambers and you have a good space between the roof and the floor of your pulp chambers. So I am using a medium-sized burr or your number 4 burr. Notice the orientation. Okay, it's directed towards your palatal. It is slightly angulated only. Okay, going towards the palatal. Never direct it to the mesial or to the distal. So let's start. So again, at the middle of the central groove. Now, to avoid having friction of the burr from the side, no, from the shank of the burr, you can just open a little bit as you direct your burr palatally. So it's a touch and go motion. Notice I am keeping the angulation. Okay, you use a touch and go motion because you want again to locate that drop. So notice I am avoiding touching the marginal ridge. So as you go deeper, you want to always check with the Endo Explorer. So notice your angulation. The burr is avoiding that mesial side and it is directed towards the palatal. So as always, before you start your access, you have to assess your radiograph. So you know if you are dealing with a big chamber or a large chamber or a very narrow one. So you do a touch and go motion. Okay, you never do a flattening movement. So as you enter, okay, again, touch and go motion. Never use a flattening motion. Then check with your Endo Explorer to see that you're in your right direction. At the same time, you want to probe, okay, or you want to feel area where your Explorer wants to enter, because the roof of your chamber is now thinning out. Okay? Okay, as I said, you look always at how much of your burr is still out. You're still on that safe depth. Then check with your Explorer. Always checking with the Endo Explorer, because once you feel that there's an area that is thinning out and the Explorer wants to go in that direction, but again, always check that your orientation is still correct. Okay? So if somehow you feel that it's going in that direction to the mesial or going to the distal, then you need to reorient your burr. Like this one, it's still moving towards the palatal area and I'm avoiding the marginal ridge, and I feel that I am very near already in locating that drop or the entry. Now, please remember, this is a multi-rooted tooth. You expect 3 or 4 canals, but you only enter or locate your chamber or drop into your chamber once. Please remember that. Another thing to take note in doing access for molars, you initially start on the center of your the middle of your central groove, directing it palatally, but as you probe the access form, as you go to the second or your third molar, first, second, third, your access prep moves a little bit towards the middle. Okay, so in your drawings, remember that your access forms were exactly on the mesial side. That's your first molar, but we're dealing here with a second molar. So your initial entry is always the same as I mentioned, but as you probe, like in this case, I feel that the entry is still near the palatal cusp as I mentioned, but it's a little bit now directed just slightly distal. See, I entered initially there, but my drop seems to be going a little just slightly to the middle. Okay, so in your drawings are all on the mesial side, but some of you have second molar, so take note, there will be some adjustments to the location of your access prep as you go to your second or even to your third molars. But your point of entry, the direction of your burr is always the same. So here, I feel I'm already very near the drop, or if not, with my probe, I believe I'm able to enter. So let's check if it does go in. Yeah, so it goes in. So notice as you enter, it's very important that you frequently probe. It tells you that you are in your right direction, or if you have slight adjustments to be made. Now, if the roof of your chamber is already very thin as you enter, right? Sometimes with your probe, it's able to go in. Like here in this case, as I'm probing the file at my estimated working length based on the radiograph is able to enter. And notice the first canal that you should locate for maxillary molars is the palatal. If by chance your file goes into the mesial, that means your entry is wrong, and that will affect your outline form and entry to your canal. So always, the first canal to locate in your maxillary molars from first to your third molars is always the palatal. So notice the direction of the file. Okay, it is directed towards your palatal area, just like you had in your drawings. Okay, so please remember that. Do not direct it towards your buccal. Always the palatal. The rule is locate the bigger part of your chamber and the bigger canals first. Still using the same burr, since we already located the entry into the chamber or the drop. Now you start to unroof. So the same sequence. That round burr that you used initially, you direct it towards the area where you went in, and you pull going out. Now, since you located already the palatal, okay, palatal canal, so you're on the palatal side, so you need to unroof or open the chamber toward the buccal side, because now you need to open and locate your buccal canals. So again, you only enter once and you do the unroofing motion towards the buccal. So you let your round burr just go in where that drop was and move outward. Never do, okay? Never do a flattening motion. It's always an outward motion with the burr. So all you have to do is follow where the burr catches and you go outward. Okay, once open, again, the rule, once you have located your chamber, irrigate, never air dry. Okay, never air dry. Once you irrigate dry with your pellets. Also, if this was a vital tooth, there would be blood. That's okay. You just have to irrigate clean it with your pellets and remove, scoop out your coronal pulp using your Endo explorers. So again, here we're starting to open. Notice it's an outward motion. You're following just all those undercuts from your round burr. Okay, so the moment you feel your drop, okay, the moment you feel your drop, you only enter up to where your burr will catch. Don't anymore go any deeper, because as you go deeper, that means you're getting, or you might hit the floor of your chamber. Okay, so always feel the catch out, to the catch out. Okay, you're just following. Again, you don't really know what is the shape or the size of your chamber. You're always safe when you follow your round burr. Never still use the fissure burrs at this point. So you continue to unroof. So notice I am going now toward the buccal side. Again, just feeling where you have those catch with the round burr. Okay, then irrigate to clean the area. As I said, if this is a vital tooth, then you expect there to be bleeding. That's normal. So you need to always irrigate, never air dry, and fill with your explorer. Okay, remember, when you locate your drop, you never go deeper than that undercut, so you avoid your bifurcation area. Once in a while, get your number 10 file at your tentative working length and just see if it goes into any of your buccal canals. So here, notice it's going toward the buccal side. So we've located a canal there on the buccal side, and let's just check. This one goes to the palatal side. So now you have located two canals, the palatal and your, basing on the direction, it wants to go to the distal, so you have your distal buccal canal. Since we've located already the distobuccal, the palatal canals, so we now look for the mesobuccal. Okay, so we burn now very slowly, going to the mesial side. Just again, opening up areas where you feel undercuts. Okay, and then let's check. Irrigate. So that's always your sequence. You always want a clean area. So let's see, we found the distobuccal. Notice the direction of the file, and let's see if we have another opening. Okay, now this one goes towards on the mesial direction. Mesial direction, but it's tight, it goes in. So let's get another file and let's just see if they go in another direction. So notice you have two files, one going to the distobuccal area, and you have another file going to the mesiobuccal area. Okay, so Because if it goes to the same hole, notice. Okay, so the direction of the file will tell you if you have located the other canal. But that's not yet done because now you have to flare. Okay, you have to open up the walls. After locating your orifices, now you want to open up, flare, or diverge the walls. After locating the orifices, you'd like to diverge or flare the walls. So you can use the safe end burr because you know you're going to be safe when you're going near the floor. So usually for molars, for maxillary molars, the mesial wall can be diverged, mesial and the distal, buccal walls. So the mesial wall can be diverged, but notice the marginal ridge remains intact. You want to diverge that also because notice your anatomy. Okay, you don't make parallel walls. That's diverged. So aside from convenience, so you see you're able to properly unroof, you maintain the thickness of your mesial wall. Okay, notice my burr is just slightly creating that flare or diverged wall. Okay, so let's check. Irrigate. Okay, dry. Down. Check with your explorer. So let's check with the files how they go in now as compared to your initial access. Okay, so it goes easier, unlike a while ago where you still have walls blocking. This one goes more straighter. Okay, that's going to your mesial buccal. Then notice your distal goes in also easier, but still it goes on an angle, so you need still to open up or diverge the walls. So after opening up, flaring or diverging the walls, you'll notice that now you see your orifices clearly. So that's your palatal. Then you have your distobuccal and the mesiobuccal. So you have a very conservative way of diverging your walls, just enough for you to directly see your orifices. So on the patient, You have to be able to see their orifices directly without having to move or adjust your head to see the orifices. You should be having a straight look into the orifices. And let's check with the files. So a while ago, it would enter on a side. Now you're able now to enter straight on. That's your distal buccal. For the mesial, you're able to enter also straight on. Notice. And also for the palatal. Okay, and if you look at your outline form, it's still focused towards the mesial side, though you had to diverge your walls, open up to expose your entire chamber. But notice the marginal ridge is kept intact, wall is diverged. Okay, same thing with the buccal side. Now, a while ago, I was using the safe end endo burr. I shifted to your regular prosto burr. It's dangerous when you're using a regular prosto burr because you can easily hit on the floor of your chamber. But if you use your regular prosto burr, you just have to make sure that you are hitting only, okay, along your walls. You will feel those undercuts, but you still have to be very careful because you can easily touch your floor. At any time you are flaring or locating your orifices, you never touch the floor of your chamber. Okay, once you touch the floor of your chamber, you thin out that bifurcation area, and that's considered already a perforation. So the completed access preparation for the molar is triangular, and you see the orifices, the palatal, and the mesio-buccal, and the distobuccal. And take note, the floor of the chamber is very clear. That's your dentinal map. And you maintain that because that represents your bifurcation area. You do not flatten. You maintain that form, because if you flatten that, that means you also thin out your bifurcation area. And also, you don't gouge the walls. That's why you should be very careful in diverging, especially your mesial and the buccal wall. The distal wall is not always diverged, but you just have to open it up. And notice that you remove or you diverge your walls until you expose or you open up to the pulp horns. So that's your completed access preparation for a maxillary molar. For this, it's a maxillary second molar.